A Star is Born is the third remake of the classical Hollywood melodrama of the same name, which originally starred Frederick March and Janet Gaynor. Famously, it had been remade by George Cukor. That version starred James Mason and Judy Garland. There's also another remake with Chris Christopherson and Barbra Streisand. I wasn't too crazy about it. But this one is coming to us courtesy of writer, director, producer, songwriter, and star Bradley Cooper. And you know, it's A Star is Born. If you've seen the other ones, you know what you're getting into here. If you haven't, you'll probably cry. Watching A Star is Born, I was reminded pretty heavily of a lot of the Kevin Costner vehicles that came out of the 90s. Like Costner, it's very clear that Cooper wants to be the singular creative vision here. But unlike Costner, Cooper's like a really interesting filmmaker. I love the way Cooper decided to shoot this film. He likes to do this thing a lot where we'll cut to a character and it's kind of in a medium close-up, and then we'll cut to another character from another medium close-up, and then all of a sudden we'll get a sound bridge, except we'll go into an establishing shot, but it's not really an establishing shot, it's just another medium close-up. And while this could be distracting for some viewers, I just thought it put me right there with the characters a lot easier. In addition to this film looking really good, it sounds incredible. A lot of the early scenes where it's just Cooper and Gaga on stage, and we're hearing just kind of the guitars and the crowd going. It's also worth noting that in addition to being a great stylist, Cooper's a great actor's director as well. We get great performances out of people like Sam Elliott. Lady Gaga does really good work here. But I mean, it's hard for me not to say that the best thing about Cooper's work is Cooper himself. The dude is just vying for an Oscar here, and I think we should probably just give it to him. His rendition of an alcoholic, washed-up rock star, at first I was worried it was going to border on caricature, but it's ultimately really sincere and convincing and beautiful, I find. The performance scenes are the best thing about this, particularly the big shallow number that everybody and their mother has been talking about. It's ultimately, I find, the apex of the entire film. Unfortunately, I think the whole thing, for as much goodwill as it's doing, kind of, sort of, maybe falls apart during the middle. You know, I give compliments to the stylistic nature of Cooper's filmmaking, but there's a couple moments here where I think the limitations that he puts on himself hinder the effect of certain scenes. I think I'm gonna get into spoiler territory here. There's a wedding scene that goes on here, and it's bad. Like, we're cutting so fast to faces and more faces between the span of what feels like maybe a minute and a half. And we're supposed to get this, you know, huge emotional rise out of it, and it just doesn't work. Speaking of doesn't work, Gaga's ultimate rise to fame here, the whole A Star is Born trajectory, falters. The main issue here, Erik, the main issue here is the songs that she gets famous off of don't have the same emotional weight as the song she was writing. There's a moment here where the Gaga character is speaking to her manager, and she's talking about, well, is my music going to become soulless? Am I selling out? These aren't the exact quotes, but you know what I mean. And the manager's like, oh, trust me, you'll be fine. And then at a certain point, it's like Gaga just says, well, yeah. In one of the film's worst moments, we see Cooper approach Lady Gaga's character in the bathtub and say, hey, you know, you got the Grammy Award, that's fine, but I think your music's pretty bad. And she's like, no, it's not, this is my art. You're just jealous, you're just drinking, blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. She just seems way too content making soulless, bland pop music. We never get to see any fan interactions, we never really get to see the weight that her stardom imposes. We get a billboard. It's not enough. Which is a shame, because the film was doing so well at the beginning, establishing Cooper's stardom. He gets stopped everywhere. We get to see him interact with fans. We get to see him resent that. We just get nothing of the sort with the Gaga character. That being said, though, by the time this film reaches the ending, the stops come out again, and it's doing pretty well for itself. The final sequence is kind of full of distracting editing choices, but the last shot is just so... it's a masterpiece, baby! In spite of all of the issues, the beginning of this thing and the ending of this thing are good enough to warrant a pretty decently strong recommendation from me. While I do wish that the Gaga character's rise to fame were handled better, I think that this is a pretty great debut from Bradley Cooper. You know, I'm thinking maybe a 7 out of 10 is pretty good here. It definitely has issues. Go out and see it just, you know, as fast as you fucking can, I guess.